The crows were circling for a reason. Something dark was going down, and this girl was right in the middle of it. She couldn't understand why this was happening, asking over and over what she'd done to deserve this. The rookie priest hesitated, calling out to his mentor, Father Kong, but Kong didn't even flinch, lighting up his cigar. He asked if the kid was getting soft, just because the target looked like a student. Kong wasn't pulling any punches, reminding the kid that this girl turned the whole school into a disaster zone, so there was no room for pity here. He looked the rookie right in the eye, asking if he was actually just scared of what they were about to do. Manhwa tried to play it cool, insisting he wasn't afraid at all, just a bit on edge for his first mission, but Kong just laughed in his face, admitting that he was actually terrified, and that today might be the day he finally bites it. If a veteran like Kong was this worried, then this job was way worse than Manhwa ever imagined. Kong didn't waste any more time, complaining that he should have known how dangerous this was gonna be before they actually started. The rookie tried to step up, promising he'd have Kang's back, no matter what happened next, but Kong wasn't having it, telling the kid he'd just be in the way, and tossed him something he called precious to protect. Manhwa was ready for anything, a holy relic or a secret weapon, but all he was holding was a regular cell phone. Kong finally stopped joking around, looking down at the girl, and told her he was sorry for what was about to happen. He didn't give her a second to breathe, shouting that this was gonna sting, before unleashing a massive wave of raw spiritual energy. Manhwa couldn't believe his eyes. The power coming off the veteran was absolutely insane. He realized Kong didn't even need a ritual to wipe something out with this much force, but the girl was caught in the crossfire, screaming out in total agony as the light started tearing her apart. The rumors weren't lying. Kong really was a monster. The legendary demon of demons was finally showing his true colors, and his power was on a whole different level. He didn't hold anything back, shouting his prayer to the heavens as the spiritual energy started to consume everything in sight. Manhwa knew he couldn't just watch. He gripped his cross and joined in, praying with everything he had to help the veteran finish this fight. The girl finally snapped, screaming at them to back off. She was losing control, promising to kill every last one of them if they didn't stop the ritual right now. But Kong wasn't backing down. He shouted for the evil spirit to go back where it came from, and pushed his power to the absolute limit. The girl let out one last scream as the spiritual energy completely overwhelmed her. Everything disappeared in a blinding flash of white light, leaving nothing but silence behind. As the blinding light finally faded, the girl opened her eyes, looking around in total confusion. The ritual was over, but something was definitely wrong. The massive energy Kong unleashed started to hiss and disappear. Manhwa watched from the side, realizing the veteran priest wasn't moving like he used to. Kong stood there barely holding on, cursing his own age. He admitted he'd overdone it, and that his body was finally starting to hit its limit. Right then, he turned to the rookie, shouting for him to step up. This wasn't over yet, and Kong couldn't finish it alone. Manhwa was all fired up, ready to get the ritual started. He thought they were finally gonna finish this together, but Kong had other things on his mind. The veteran priest didn't care about the danger or the demon. He was more worried about his image, telling the rookie to keep quiet so his reputation wouldn't take a hit. Manhwa couldn't believe it. Was this guy seriously thinking about his career right now? But Kong just doubled down, claiming his face was everything. That's when everything went sideways. While Kong was busy complaining about his dropping performance results, the enemy didn't wait for him to finish. Out of nowhere, a massive strike hit him dead on, sending the legendary priest flying across the room. The real fight was just starting, and Kong was already in deep trouble. The girl just laughed, mocking Kong for being all talk. She thought the legendary exorcist was nothing but a joke, and she wasn't afraid to say it. Kong was stuck on the ground, admitting that hit really hurt. He was cursing his own age, wishing he was just a few years younger, so he could actually fight back. The girl didn't give him a second, grabbing him right by the face. She was ready to end the old geezer, once and for all, thinking the fight was already over. But she forgot one thing. The rookie was still standing. Manhwa stepped forward, opening his book with a shout. He wasn't playing around anymore. In the name of the saint, he began the real command. The power coming off that book was unlike anything they'd seen. Everything was about to change. Manhwa gave it his best shot, shouting a command to banish the spirit, but it didn't even leave a scratch. The girl just laughed in his face, telling the kid he should have run while he still had the chance. Before he could even react, she unleashed a massive wave of energy, sending Manhwa flying back. He hit the ground hard, his phone sliding away in the dirt. The rookie was officially out of the fight. The girl wasn't done yet. She told him to stay down and wait his turn, because she had a bigger prize in mind. She was gonna drain every bit of Kang's spiritual power first. Kong was trapped in her grip, watching her get ready to feast. He knew they were in deep trouble, and there was only one way out, a secret method he'd been avoiding because of the heavy price. He didn't want it to come to this, but with no other options left, the veteran priest made his choice. Whatever he was about to do, it was gonna change everything. The girl wasn't buying it, calling Kong a dying old man. She thought he was just bluffing, to hide how weak he'd become. But the veteran priest wasn't done just yet. Hyenwu watched in terror, thinking his mentor was about to pull off a final self-destruction. He was ready for a heroic sacrifice. But what happened next? Nobody saw coming. Instead of a massive explosion, Kong just started screaming. He was yelling for help, at the top of his lungs, like his life depended on it. The girl was completely baffled. She didn't know what to do. With a legendary exorcist, who was suddenly acting like a victim, she told him to shut up, thinking he'd finally gone crazy. Hyenwu couldn't believe his eyes. He was sure the old man's mind had finally snapped under the pressure. Everything was falling apart, until a sound from the floor changed the whole vibe. Right then, his phone started ringing. Someone was calling, at the worst possible moment, and this one little ring was about to flip the script. The phone on the ground lit up, connecting to a service called Help Me. It wasn't just a random call. This was the secret method Khan was screaming about, and someone actually picked up. A voice came through the speaker, asking if Father Khan could hear him. Hyenwu was totally lost, staring at the screen in shock. He had no idea who was on the line, or what was happening anymore. The man on the other end sounded way too calm for this. He said it took them long enough to finally make the call, like he'd been waiting for this signal the entire time. He wasn't alone out there either. Han Jiram was right by his side, just waiting for the word. The mysterious caller made it clear. Since they finally reached out, the real help was on the way. Everything was about to flip. The rookie and the veteran weren't fighting this alone anymore. The cavalry had arrived, and they were ready to finish this. Hyenwu didn't waste any time. He told Kong that by calling, he'd officially agreed to the price. This wasn't a rescue mission, it was a business deal, and the contract was signed. Turns out, he'd been waiting right outside, with Han Jiram the whole time. They were just watching the show, waiting for the veteran priest to finally cave in and ask for help. Hyenwu joked about how much of a favor they were doing, standing out there in the dark. But inside that building, things were getting ugly fast. The possessed girl was livid. She realized Kong had called for backup, and she wasn't having it. She called him a piece of shit for trying to bring in another priest. She slammed Kong down even harder, screaming that it wouldn't matter. Another priest was just another victim. As far as she was concerned, she thought she was untouchable, but she had no idea who was actually standing at the door. The possessed girl was screaming, convinced that nothing would change. She was ready to end it all right there, and Ji Hyun could only watch in horror as Father Kong took the hit. But Hyenwu had the last word. He agreed that she was right, then told Kong it was time to move. Before anyone could even blink, the entire window exploded. Glass showered the room. As Hyenwu came crashing in, he didn't just enter the fight, he completely took over the stage, landing right in the middle of the chaos. He looked over at the veteran, casually asking if he was gonna be okay, like he wasn't standing in a war zone, surrounded by shattered glass, and a literal monster. Then, without even breaking a sweat, he reached out and grabbed her. He caught the girl right by the face, stopping her dead in her tracks. The real fight was finally starting. Hyenwu was totally relaxed, holding the girl back with one hand. He even had time to joke around, asking Kong if it was really okay to perform an exorcism like this, right in front of a rookie. Ji Hyun was completely lost, staring at the scene in total shock. He had no idea who this guy was, or where he'd even come from. 1 second they were dying, and the next, this stranger was running the show. Kong wasn't in the mood for jokes. He snapped back at him, calling him a total sellout. He said Hyenwu takes the money, without a single care in the world, so he should stop acting so considerate. The veteran priest was done. He just wanted the nightmare to end. He yelled at Hyenwu to stop talking and just finish it. He wanted this thing gone, and he wanted it gone now. But the possessed girl wasn't just gonna stand there. She was absolutely livid, hearing them talk about her, like she was already finished. She couldn't believe these bastards were planning her exorcism, right to her face. The possessed girl finally snapped. She lunged forward with everything, screaming that she'd kill them all. She thought she was the hunter, but she was about to learn a very painful lesson. Hyenwu didn't even move. He just looked her in the eye and asked her a simple question. He had a little secret to share. Before he ended the fight, he told her straight up that even evil spirits feel pain, and before she could even react, he put all his weight into one massive punch. The impact was devastating. He didn't use a prayer or a cross. He just used raw power to smash her right into the ground. This wasn't a holy ritual, it was a street fight. Ji Hyun couldn't believe his eyes. He was watching a priest's assistant beat a demon with his bare hands. He screamed out in total shock, because this wasn't exorcism, it was something way more dangerous. Hyenwu didn't hold back. He called it a holy punch, but there was nothing sacred about the way he sent her flying across the entire room. The impact was brutal, leaving the girl broken on the floor. Hyenwu just stood over her, cracking his knuckles. He told the spirit straight up if it didn't want more pain, it was time to leave that body. The demon was actually begging, choking out a plea for help. It had never felt anything like this, and it was clearly terrified of what Sa Hyenwa would do next. Ji Hyun was losing his mind. He realized the real danger now. This guy wasn't just hitting a demon, he was hitting a human girl. If he didn't stop soon, he was gonna take her out too. He tried to jump in, ready to stop the madness, but before he could move a muscle, a hand reached out and caught him by the shoulder. Someone was telling him to stay put. Ji Hyun tried to rush in, but Kang held him back. The veteran priest knew better. He told the rookie that everyone has the same reaction the first time they see this guy work. Ji Hyun was still panicking. He was sure the girl was dying. He yelled that they had to stop him before it was too late, but Kang just took a puff of his cigar and told him to relax. He said to just keep his eyes open and watch what happened next. Right then, the girl started choking. She was doubled over, coughing up something foul. It looked like the punch had actually done the trick. She wasn't just sick, she was literally purging the demon. A thick purple liquid came pouring out of her. It was a disgusting sight, but it was exactly what needed to happen. Ji Hyun stood there frozen. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The brutal violence from before wasn't just a beatdown, it was the most effective exorcism he'd ever witnessed. Ji Hyun couldn't believe his eyes. The girl didn't just vomit, she literally coughed up the demon. It was a small, pathetic creature, covered in purple slime, and it was absolutely miserable. The spirit was in total shock. It couldn't understand how this guy dragged it out without a single ritual. No prayers, no holy water, just raw, agonizing force. It had never felt pain like this before. Sa Hyenwa didn't stop there. He grabbed the creature by the neck and asked if it was hurting yet. The demon started screaming for help, calling the priest's assistant a monster. It was a complete role reversal. Sa Hyenwa offered a simple deal. If the spirit moved on to the afterlife, he'd stop the torture right now. The creature didn't even hesitate. It started begging to leave, promising it would go quietly. So Sa Hyenwa let go. He told the thing to get lost and head for the next world. But as the spirit pulled away, it had a look in its eyes that suggested this wasn't over yet. The spirit didn't waste a second. As soon as it was free, it laughed right in his face. It called him a total idiot for actually believing a demon would keep its word. It wasn't planning on leaving, it was just looking for a fresh start. The creature bragged about how easy it would be to find a new host, since the world is full of weak people, just waiting to be taken over. Kang and Ji Hyun completely lost it. They screamed for someone to catch it before it could disappear into the city. But Sa Hyenwa just stood there, watching his mistake fly away. That's when she finally had enough. Sa Hyenwa was watching from the side, and she was beyond annoyed. She let out a long sigh, calling him a complete moron for being so naive. She wasn't gonna let it slide. She pressed her hands together, and the air started to hum. Blue energy began to swirl around her, exploding into a massive surge of power. The real fight was just getting started, and she was playing for keeps. Sa Hyenwa, female, didn't hesitate. She pulled back a bolt of blue energy, like she was aiming a sniper rifle. With a cold smile, she let the power fly straight at the escaping demon. The hit was perfect. The beam tore through the air and slammed right into the creature. It didn't even have time to scream before the energy started ripping its physical form apart. The spirit was in total shock. It couldn't believe its luck. First the guy with the holy punch, and now this girl. It realized too late that it had run into two monsters instead of just one. There was nowhere left to hide. The blue light began to swell, swallowing the creature whole. The demon let out one last cry as its entire body started to dissolve into nothing. This time, there was no walking away. The spirit didn't stand a chance. Han Jiram's energy hit like a bomb, turning the demon into a shower of glowing blue sparks. The threat was gone in a second, leaving nothing but a flashy mess. Sa Hyenwa was loving it. He gave her a huge shout out, clearly impressed by the finish. But Han Jiram wasn't in the mood for any celebrations. She struck a pose and told him to stop making things so difficult. She was tired of cleaning up after his reckless mistakes. To her, this was just another annoying chore. The two priests were left speechless. Ji Hyun couldn't even process what he'd just witnessed. He asked what the hell was even happening right now. Kang just took a puff of his cigar and shook his head. He'd seen a lot in his time, but this definitely wasn't a normal exorcism. These kids weren't following the rules, they were rewriting them. The dust finally settled. Kang told the rookie he did okay for his first real mission, but he warned him that things were only gonna get more complicated from here. He explained how these spirits work. They prey on fear and resentment, like sharks smelling blood, and kids are the easiest targets, because they're so vulnerable to those dark emotions. Most exorcists stay away from cases involving minors. The risk is just too high. If a spirit consumes a pure soul, it becomes a total nightmare to deal with. But today was different. Nobody got seriously hurt, and the girl who was possessed was actually doing fine. Kang pointed out something that shouldn't even be possible. The wounds from the fight were already starting to heal. Khan was just as shocked as anyone. He said Sa Hyenwu is a freak, who can exorcise demons, and heal people at the same time, just by punching them. Ji Hyun just sat there, staring at his drink. He couldn't wrap his head around it. The more he heard, the less any of this made sense to him. Khan couldn't stop laughing. The idea of punching ghosts, instead of using holy water, was the craziest thing he'd ever seen. To him, as long as the job was done, nothing else really mattered. But Ji Hyun wasn't laughing, he was losing his mind. He told Kang this was a disaster. Leaving a possessed kid in the hands of teenagers was a massive violation of the rules. He was spiraling, thinking about the consequences. If the Vatican ever found out, they'd both be dead meat. Their careers would be over before they even started. They both looked out at the group in the distance. Sa Hyenwu and the others didn't look like heroes, they just looked like kids hanging out after school. Ji Hyun finally asked the big question, who are these people? They didn't belong to the church, and they didn't follow the law, but they had power that no priest could match. Khan took a long puff of his cigar and squinted. He knew there was a name for what they were doing, he just couldn't remember what those kids called their little group. Khan finally spoke up. The killing agency, right? He thought he'd nailed it, given how much damage those kids just caused, but he couldn't have been more wrong. The real name flashed across the screen. The healing agency. A bit ironic, considering they just punched a demon into oblivion. The sun was setting, and for a moment, everything felt peaceful. The girl was safe, and the job was done. But that feeling wasn't gonna last long. The scene shifted to a massive set of doors, locked tight with ancient seals and paper talismans. This wasn't a school anymore. This was somewhere dark, somewhere forgotten. Suddenly, the seals started to rip. The wood began to groan and crack under the pressure. Whatever was locked inside was tired of waiting. The real nightmare was just about to break loose. The seals didn't just break, they exploded. The shaman was sent flying, like a ragdoll. Before anyone could even process what was happening, her people rushed over, screaming her name, trying to see if she was still in one piece. But she could barely speak. She knew right away, they were all in deep trouble. She warned them to stay back. That thing behind her wasn't just some random spirit, it was something ancient, and way more dangerous than anything they'd ever faced. Then the monster spoke. His voice sounded like grinding stone. He wasn't interested in the crowd of followers standing in front of him. He offered them a deal straight from hell. He said he'd let them live on one condition: they had to bring him a specific prize. He's looking for a body, a strong young man, to be exact, and we all know exactly who he's talking about. The morning silence didn't last long. A pink motorcycle screeched to a halt right in front of Sa Hyenwu. Han Jiram didn't waste any time with small talk. She told him to hop on. They had a new request, and it wasn't the kind you could just ignore. She warned him though, the job was pretty far. If they took it, there was no way they'd make it to school on time today. But Sa Hyenwu didn't seem to care about his attendance record. He just pulled on his helmet and got ready for a ride. That was definitely gonna be more exciting than any math class. He only had one question before they took off: how much is the payout? For him, the danger was fine, as long as the price was right. Sa Hyenwu wasn't just dangerous, he was expensive. He told Yang Yin the price, at least 2 big notes. Yin couldn't believe it. You little thug, this is way more than last time. Hyenwu didn't even blink. He just sat there, eating a sacrificial apple, like it was nothing. He asked her calmly, we're talking about a life here, so what's it gonna be, Yin? The clients were desperate. Even the great Yang Yin couldn't handle this one. They had no choice but to trust a kid. Sa Hyenwu didn't mind. He just gave them a grin. Leave it to me. Keeping promises to clients is our iron rule. But Han Jiram wasn't buying it. Iron rule my foot. You're just obsessed with money. Now wrap it up. We're gonna be late for school. Hyenwu headed in alone, ready to finish the job. But what was waiting inside wasn't just any spirit. It was a monster. The spirit wanted a new host. But Sa Hyenwu had other plans. He didn't use a fancy ritual. He just called out his secret move. Holy punch. The family was absolutely horrified. They screamed at him to stop hitting their father. But Hyenwu just shrugged it off, like it was no big deal. He told them they had it all wrong. This was just his special way of getting the job done. And honestly, it actually worked. The evil spirit was gone, leaving the old man completely empty. Hyenwu just grinned. See? Good as new. The family was losing it. Their father looked like a wreck, and they blamed the whole thing on Sa Hyenwu. Even the other shamans couldn't believe his methods. But Han Jiram didn't care about the drama. She was already on her bike, revving the engine. We're gonna be late. Get on now or I'm gone. Hyenwu didn't stick around to explain himself. He just dumped the whole mess on Yang Yan and told her to fix it. Yan was ready to explode, but Hyenwa knew exactly how to shut her down. He gave her a look and dropped a line nobody saw coming. You can handle this, because you're the most beautiful shaman I've ever seen. Just like that, he was gone, leaving her completely speechless. The family was still screaming, calling Yang Yan a fraud for letting things get this messy, but they picked the wrong time to mess with her. Yan finally snapped. She told them to shut up and have a little faith. Look at your father. Does he look like he's dying? The old man was actually glowing. He was smiling and stronger than he'd been in years. In her ritual, nobody gets to die. Hyenwa's compliment did exactly what he wanted. Yan's ego was through the roof, and that's when she unleashed her ultimate move. The great bewitchment spell was so bright, it blinded the entire crowd. It was the perfect distraction for a quick getaway. While everyone was staring at the most beautiful shaman, Hyenwu and Jiram didn't waste a second. Let's get out of here. As they sped away, Hyenwu only had one thing on his mind. We're still getting paid, right? Priorities, I guess. But back at the scene, the mood completely flipped. Yang Yan looked down at what was left behind, and her heart sank. Something was wrong. This wasn't just a normal exorcism. She found something she wasn't supposed to see. Meanwhile, Jiram finally made it to the school gates, but she wasn't the only one looking for answers. High up in the library, Ji Hyun was hunting for something dangerous, a forbidden book filled with the darkest secrets of the spirit world. The real mystery was just beginning, and it's way bigger than just one paycheck. What's hidden in those pages? Back at school, the gossip was moving faster than Jiram's motorcycle. Her friends were curious. Aren't you sick of spirits yet? But then they spilled the tea. They asked the one question she wasn't ready for. Are you dating Hyenwu? The reaction was instant, and it wasn't just her losing her cool. Across the hall, Hyenwu was losing it too. His classmates were relentless, teasing him about their daily bike rides together. Sparks have to be flying, right? Hyenwu tried to play it off, but they weren't buying it, so he went for the throat and threatened their deal. If you don't stop, the price for my spirit photos is going way up. Turns out, Hyenwu has a side hustle, selling shots of real monsters. The classmates folded immediately. They'd already paid their fees and didn't want to miss out. The rumors might be fake, but the business is real. Still, everyone's wondering if there's more to the story than just a ride to school. Jiram tried to play it cool, denying the dating rumors, but then Ji Hyun dropped a total bombshell. I'm actually into him. Yeah, I like Hyenwu. The news hit Jiram like a ton of bricks. She was so caught off guard, she couldn't even hold onto her books. While the girls were reeling, Hyenwu was already gone. He bolted out of class, like his life depended on it, leaving everyone guessing. The classroom gossip was already spiraling. Maybe he's seeing a girlfriend? That one sentence stopped the girls cold. But the truth was way heavier than a date. Hyenwu wasn't at a cafe, he was at the hospital, facing a nightmare. A family member just had another seizure, and the doctors are stumped. To make things worse, the bills are piling up, and he's running out of time. The cool guy at school is carrying a weight nobody else can see, and the price for his secret is getting higher every day. Hyenwu was backed into a corner. The hospital bills were due, and he didn't have the cash. He had to make the call he'd been dreading all day, but his boss surprised him. I covered everything for this month. Just don't make it a habit. Hyenwu could finally breathe. Thank you for everything, he whispered. The boss just yelled at him to get back to work, but they both knew he'd just saved Hyenwu's life. Inside the room, his little sister Ji Hyun finally opened her eyes. She felt bad for the trouble, but Hyenwu didn't care about the money anymore. He put on his best smile and made a promise. Order whatever you want. I'll buy you everything. He was determined to be the hero she needed. Ji Hyun was over the moon, calling him the best brother in the whole world. But as the sun set, the reality stayed the same. He's safe for today, but the clock is already ticking for next month. Just when things seem to be settling down, Yang Yan rolls up out of nowhere, screaming for Hyenwu. Jiram was totally confused. He's at the hospital, she shouted back, but Yan didn't come just to chat. She opened her delivery box and pulled out a total nightmare. The spirit they fought earlier was just the beginning. Something else was hiding inside it, a dark creature covered in ancient charms that nobody has ever seen before. This wasn't an accident, Yan warned. Those lunatics planted this on purpose, and now they're looking for payback. Hyenwu is a marked man. He messed with their plans, and now he's out there all alone. We have to find him before they do. Hyenwu was just trying to have a quiet meal with his sister when all hell broke loose right outside their door. People were screaming about a man with a knife and an evil spirit loose in the hospital. The peace was gone in a heartbeat. Then, the door clicked open. A woman stepped in, holding a blade and wearing a chilling smile. "I finally found you," she said. Hyenwa recognized her. She was the daughter of the man he'd just saved. He thought she was there to settle the bill, but he couldn't have been more wrong. She didn't come to say thank you. "I don't have a cent to give you," she laughed. "I spent every penny buying that evil spirit." The realization hit him like a physical blow. She wasn't a victim. She was the one who started this nightmare. And now, she's here to finish it. The woman pulled back her jacket, revealing a torso covered in dark talismans. She didn't just buy a spirit, she sold her soul to host it. Hyenwa couldn't believe what he was hearing. She used that monster to kill her own father, and her brother was next, all for a payday. If everything had gone according to plan, she would have been rich and free from her curse. But then, Hyenwa showed up. "You ruined everything," she screamed. Now she had nothing left but her rage and the demons crawling under her skin. She didn't care about her life anymore. She just wanted him to pay the price for meddling in things he didn't understand. Right then, the shadows exploded. Dark spirits with glowing eyes tore out of her body. The real monster was finally coming out to play. "If you'd just let my father die," she whispered, "I could have been happy. Now, nobody's leaving this room alive." The woman didn't hold back. She unleashed every demon inside her, screaming that Hyenwa had ruined her life. But this wasn't just a direct attack. While Hyenwa was busy defending himself, the shadows went for a different target. Before he could react, the spirits lunged at his sister. Ji-hyun didn't stand a chance. As the dark tentacles wrapped around her, Hyenwa tried to reach her, but he was pinned down by the sheer weight of the woman's rage. He could only watch as his sister was pulled away. The woman just smiled through the smoke. "This is all on you," she whispered. "Your meddling is gonna cost your sister her life." With one final surge, the spirits smashed through the window, dragging Ji-hyun out into the night, leaving Hyenwa with nothing but his failure. Everything flipped in a single second. The mission was no longer about the money. It was a race to save the only family he had left. Hyenwa didn't hesitate. He threw himself out the window, grabbing Ji-hyun midair and pulling her close. He used his own body as a human shield, taking the full force of the fall. As they slammed into a car below, the impact was brutal. Metal twisted and glass shattered as the alarms started screaming into the night. Hyenwa could barely breathe, but he didn't let go. The woman looked down at the wreckage with a cold, mocking smile. "Hypocrite," she spat. She didn't see a hero, she saw a man who ruined her future. And now, she was enjoying every second of his pain. "You ruin other people's lives," she said, "but your own family is precious." For Hyenwa, the price of meddling just hit rock bottom. He saved a stranger, but now, he might lose everything that actually matters. The woman stood over them, shadows pouring out of her own body. She didn't care about the consequences anymore. She just wanted them dead. "You ruined my life," she whispered. "Now, you're gonna pay the price." Hyenwa. Hyenwa was pinned down, clutching his sister, but he wasn't backing down. "Don't blame others for your own mess," he spat. He called her out. Right there, she was the one who got blinded by the payout and tried to kill her own blood for cash. "You sold your soul to a lousy spirit," he shouted. "So who exactly are you blaming?" That hit a nerve. The woman snapped, screaming that he didn't know anything about her life. It was always about her big brother. She was always the one pushed aside, ignored by the people who were supposed to love her. "They never saw me as family," she shrieked. "They were just trash who deserved to die." Right then, the last bit of her humanity just flickered out. She wasn't a person anymore. She was just a monster with a grudge. Hyenwa wasn't done yet. He launched himself back into the fight, refusing to let her have the last word. "And you think," he shouted, "that's a good enough reason to kill your own family?" He didn't wait for an answer. He landed a massive punch right to her face, shattering whatever was left of her ego. He grabbed her mid-air and slammed her down with everything he had. The impact shook the entire street. "I'll make sure to charge a proper fee for this exorcism," he yelled, "and I'm sending the bill straight to your family." The woman was finished. She hit the pavement and didn't get back up. The monster inside her was finally silenced. Right then, a pink motorcycle roared onto the scene. Han Jiram had arrived just in time. The job was over, but the night was far from finished. Hyenwu grabbed his sister, and they disappeared into the city lights. Jiram pushed the bike to the limit, trying to keep the mood light. Don't worry too much, she said. Hyenwu is a one-punch wonder anyway. But Yin wasn't buying it. This isn't just some random ghost, she replied. It's connected to them. Jiram didn't get it. Who exactly are these people? She asked, weaving through traffic. They're humans, Yin said, but they're worse than any demon. They trick people into selling their souls, just to turn them into spirit factories. Anyone they touch becomes a gateway that never closes. It's like they've opened the gates of hell. Back at the wreckage, the nightmare was just getting started. The woman's body was tearing apart as dark spirits crawled out of her. This is getting fun, she laughed, her voice sounding like a chorus of dead souls. Struggle all you want, it won't matter. She looked down at the broken street with a twisted smile. This place is already hell. Hyenwu was barely standing. He'd given everything he had, but the real fight was only just beginning, and he was running out of time. Hyenwu watched as the darkness finally took over. She'd been eaten alive by the very spirits she tried to control. I don't know how they're making these things pour out non-stop, he said, but I've seen enough. He stood his ground, ignoring the chaos swirling around him. Let me say this in advance, he called out. He looked her straight in the eye with a cold grin. The healing office's exorcism fee is expensive. This wasn't just a fight anymore, it was business. So you'd better be ready, he warned. The price for this wasn't gonna be cheap, and Hyenwu was ready to collect every single cent. The enemy couldn't believe it. How could a human hold this much dark power? But Hyenwu didn't care about their questions. He only saw one thing, his sister Ji Hyun on the ground. He warned them before. His exorcism fees were high, but touching his family? That's a debt they can't afford to pay. Right then, the talk was over. Hyenwu was ready to collect every cent in blood. Hyenwu was reaching his limit, but the enemy wasn't gonna give him a break. Then things went from bad to a total nightmare. The spirits weren't just after him anymore. They were heading straight for Ji Hyun. Seeing her in danger changed everything. He didn't care about the pain or how much blood he lost. He had one goal left: get them away from her, no matter the cost. Hyenwu didn't have any strength left, but he wasn't letting those things touch Ji Hyun. He tore them apart with nothing but raw rage, screaming for them to stay away from his sister. The immediate danger was over, but the cost was heavy. Hyenwu finally collapsed, barely able to stand. That's when a new face stepped out of the shadows. Yujin watched him with a cold curiosity. She wasn't even worried about the spirits he'd destroyed. To her, this was just a test, and Hyenwu was the prize she'd been looking for. Yujin wasn't just trying to kill him, she wanted to break him from the inside out. She brought up the one thing he couldn't handle, the mother who walked away from him. That insult was the spark that set everything off. Hyenwu lost his cool and lunged forward in a rage, but that was exactly what she was waiting for. Before he could even land a hit, a dark blade pierced his chest. He fell right into her trap, and now the price was his life. Yujin was done playing. She'd seen enough and was ready to end Hyenwu right there. But just as things went completely sideways, a massive blast of energy tore through the dark. Jiram and Yin didn't just show up, they crashed the party with everything they had. Hyenwu was barely hanging on, trying to tell them to run, but Jiram wasn't having it. She wasn't about to let him die on her watch. The backup had finally arrived, and Yin didn't waste a second. The real fight was just getting started. Yin and Jiram jumped right into the chaos, but Yujin wasn't about to let them ruin her fun. She unleashed a swarm of dark spirits, screaming for them to stay out of her way. The pressure was too much, and Jiram took a nasty hit. Hyenwu could only watch as his friend was pushed back. They were holding their own, but the numbers didn't make sense. These things just kept coming out of nowhere. Jiram realized the truth. They couldn't just fight their way out of this one. If they didn't find a plan, and find it fast, they were all going down. Hyenwu was fading fast, and Jiram knew they were running out of time. She looked at Yin and made a split-second call. They needed a path straight to Hyenwu, and they needed it now. It was a massive gamble, but it was the only way out. Yujin tried to stop them, but the girls were already one step ahead. Yin didn't hold anything back, unleashing a wall of fire to burn through the dark. With the path finally open, Jiram put everything on the line. She had to reach him before it was too late. Back at school, everyone teased Jiram about being stuck to Hyenwu like glue. She always denied it, saying there was no way, but the reality now is a lot more brutal. Yujin is tearing her apart, with spikes of dark energy, mocking her for throwing her life away. As the pain takes over, Jiram's mind drifts back to the night it all started. Two kids alone in the snow, outside a baby box. Hyenwu thought they were both just abandoned, but Jiram's truth was way darker than that. She didn't get left behind. She was the one who walked away after her own father was taken by a demon. Jiram was ready to do the unthinkable. She believed killing her father was the only way to end the nightmare. Hyenwu couldn't believe it. He called her out for trying to throw away her only family over a demon. But Jiram snapped. The priests had already given up and run away. She felt like she had no other choice. Hyenwu didn't back down. He told her she was being an idiot, and that none of this made any sense. Jiram screamed back, telling him he didn't know a thing. He had no right to judge her when he wasn't the one living through the horror. In that freezing alley, Hyenwu made a promise that changed everything. He told Jiram he'd help her, even when she had nothing left to give. She didn't believe him at first. What could a kid carrying a baby possibly do? But Hyenwu didn't flinch. He claimed he could kill the evil spirits himself. He made her a deal. He'd save her father, and in return, they'd become each other's new family. Back in the present, Jiram finally gets it. She isn't just fighting to stay alive. She's finally paying back the debt she's owed him. Since that night, she charges forward, refusing to let him go, because he was the one who gave her a reason to keep moving. Jiram decided to play her final card. It was a desperate move, and Hyenwu realized too late exactly what she was doing. Back at school, she'd tell anyone who'd listen that there was no way she'd ever like a guy like S.A. Hyenwu. But as she throws herself into the path of the attack, those words feel like a lie. She takes the hit meant for him, letting the dark energy tear through them both. Even Yujin is stunned. She didn't expect anyone to be this reckless for someone else. Hyenwu can only watch as the truth hits him. This was the method she talked about. She was always going to give everything just to keep him safe. The tide finally turned, but not the way anyone expected. Yujin was winning until a sudden surge of power started tearing her apart. Yang Yin couldn't believe what she was seeing. Jiram didn't just take a hit. She bit Hyenwu's neck to force his spiritual energy to explode outward. It was a desperate gamble to wake up the power hidden deep inside him, a power that's been haunting Hyenwu since he was a kid. Now that energy is loose, and it's more dangerous than anything they've faced. Hyenwu's eyes changed, and the air itself started to heavy. Jiram knows they're running out of time. She screams for him to end this now, before the power takes over completely. Hyenwu tells Jiram not to worry. He's finally standing up, and he looks like a completely different person. He's done playing games, and wants to end this in a single move. Yujin can't believe her eyes. Every single wound on him has completely healed. She tries to act tough, claiming her hell is still in control, but you can hear the panic in her voice. Hyenwu isn't listening. He's sick of her using people as bait and hiding behind these shadow monsters. He charges straight in, ready to settle the score once and for all. This time, there's no way back for Yujin. Hyenwu is tearing through everything in his way. Yujin's shadow army is falling apart, and she's finally cornered. He's not just hitting her, he's calling her out. This world isn't hell. The only hell that exists is the one she built inside her own heart. Hyenwu warns her that this next move is gonna hurt, and for someone as broken as she is, it'll be unbearable. He doesn't hold back. He slams her down with everything he's got, leaving Yujin with nothing left to say. The fight is over, and the price for her choices just came due. Hyenwu's final strike did more than just knock Yujin down. It literally forced the darkness out of her in the most violent way. As the spirits escape, the real source of all this mess finally shows its face. A disgusting spirit head covered in talismans. Yang Yin realizes this was the tool they used to plant evil and control people like puppets. But even with Yujin down, the nightmare isn't over. A voice comes from the shadows, acknowledging the power Hyenwu was hiding. He's officially put a target on his back. The enemy is shocked, but they're already planning their revenge. They're coming for him and everyone he loves. This wasn't the end. It was just the start of a much bigger war. The enemy is still talking trash, threatening everyone Hyenwu cares about, but he's heard enough. He stomps out the spirit head, ending the transmission for good. He tells the coward to show their face instead of hiding behind creepy dolls. But there's one thing he needs to clear up. Jiram is definitely not his girlfriend. As the purple mist clears, Yujin finally wakes up, completely lost. She remembers the hospital, but has no idea how she ended up here. Yang Yin doesn't sugarcoat it, she tells her straight up, that an evil spirit stole her will. Their goal was simple, wipe out her family, and take everything they owned. Yujin's father is right there, waiting for her. The weight of what happened finally hits her. She let her own greed blind her to the truth. She's back with her family, but the scars from this won't heal overnight. The immediate danger is gone, but the real enemy is still out there, watching from the dark. The drama is hitting hard. Yujin's family is back together, but everyone's taking the blame. Her brother and father are just happy she's safe, even if the guilt is eating them alive. Yang Yin has to break the mood though. They aren't just here for a reunion. This specific spot is where the dark deal for the spirits was made. But while they're digging into the past, a new player enters the game. Meet Kim Ya-hyun. The kid is a natural, hitting home runs like it's nothing. Everyone wants him on the team, but there's a catch. His mom is strictly against him playing. He's got the talent to be a star, but in this world, nothing is ever as simple as a game, and Ya-hyun might be exactly what the enemy is looking for next. Ya-hyun knows he's pushing it. He cuts the game short and rushes off, promising his friends he's done with baseball for good this time. He heads back to his luxury apartment, trying to act natural, but the second he steps through the door, the vibe completely shifts. His mom is waiting right there in the dark, and she already knows where he's been. He tries to play it off as just hanging with friends, but she isn't buying it. Something is seriously wrong. She's standing there, holding a baseball bat, like she's ready for war. This isn't just a strict parent, this is a total nightmare. Ya-hyun is terrified, begging for her to stop. He promises over and over that he'll never touch a ball again. Whatever happened in the past, it turned his own home into a horror movie. Ya-hyun's mom is losing her mind. She's screaming at him, asking why he won't listen, and bringing up his father like it's a death sentence. Then things start breaking, and the house goes dead silent. Ya-hyun is backed into a corner, surrounded by the very things she hates the most. He's begging for mercy, promising he'll never play the game again, but apologies won't save him now, because the real monster isn't his mother's temper. Out of the shadows, dark hands start reaching for him, pinning him down, while he pleads for a forgiveness that isn't coming. This is how the darkness finds its way in. It feeds on the trauma and the broken promises. Ya-hyun is trapped, and whatever is looking back through that dark lens, it's already won. The rumors are spreading fast. Evil spirits are popping up everywhere, and the whole city is on edge. But while everyone else is panicking, the girls at school only have eyes for one thing: a viral video of a handsome priest caught in the middle of the chaos. Sa Hyenwoo isn't impressed though. He's annoyed that these priests are swooping in and taking all the credit. But Han Jiram doesn't care about fame, as long as the check clears, and Father Khan keeps the police away. Their secret is safe. Everything was handled perfectly, and nobody even noticed who was really doing the heavy lifting. Han Jiram thinks the situation is perfect. The priest is the face of the operation, while they stay in the shadows. But Sa Hyenwoo isn't having it. He thinks she's just obsessed with the paycheck. He's actually pretty hurt. He was right there in the photo, but nobody even noticed him. He's practically invisible. While the handsome priest goes viral, Jiram tells him to get over it. They made enough money to buy the medicine Ji-hyun needs, and that's the only thing that matters. But just as things settle down, a classmate drops a total bombshell. She walks up with a serious look and asks the one question nobody saw coming: did you two actually kiss? The classroom is in total chaos. A rumor about a kiss is spreading like wildfire, and Han Jiram is losing her mind. She's demanding to know who started such a stupid lie. But when she looks to Sa Hyenwoo for backup, he completely chokes. Instead of a straight answer, he starts acting all awkward, saying it wasn't exactly a kiss. That's the worst thing he could have said. Jiram is ready to snap. She's literally shaking him for an answer, while the rest of the class is already celebrating the news. The teasing doesn't stop there. Their classmates have been watching them, and they've already made up their minds. To everyone else, these two have been a couple for ages. They're actually offended that the secret was kept from them. Jiram and Hyenwoo are totally trapped, and the more they try to explain, the more guilty they look. Han Jiram is just trying to get through her school day, but the rumors won't stop. Her friends are convinced she and Hyenwoo are the perfect match. She's still trying to deny it, when the real world crashes back in. A window shatters overhead, and the hunt is officially on. Sa Hyenwoo is already on the roof, shouting directions, while the target tries to bolt. But Jiram isn't impressed. She's more annoyed at his sloppy work than she is at the monster. The bickering doesn't stop, even as they're chasing this weird pink spirit through the city. Hyenwoo was just trying to keep up, while Jiram keeps the pressure on. Even the evil spirit is confused. It's never seen exorcists act this reckless before. Usually they worry about safety, but these two only care about winning the argument. Sa Hyenwoo doesn't do things By the book. Most exorcists use charms, but he just goes straight for a massive right hook. The spirit is completely stunned. It's never seen anyone punch a ghost out of a host, but before it can even react, Han Jiram is already moving in. She's totally fed up with Hyeonwoo's messy style. She steps up with her blue energy, ready to end this right now, but she's clearly in a bad mood. She tells the thing to shut up, and tries to blast it right out of the sky, but this spirit is faster than it looks. It manages to dodge the hit, and starts mocking them as it flies away. It thinks these two kids are way out of their league. Hyeonwoo is frustrated. He was so close to a hit, but the target slipped away. Now they're left standing there, with nothing but a missed chance, and a lot of explaining to do. That pink spirit is running scared. It barely escaped with its life, and now it's desperate. It needs a new human host, and it needs one fast. Right then, it spots a new target. A kid named Kim Yahyun is just standing there, looking like the perfect candidate. Yahyun's friends are bummed out, because he has to head home early. Again, he's clearly the star of the team, but his mom won't let him play. It turns out, there's a huge reason behind all the secrecy. Yahyun isn't just some random kid. He's got professional blood running through his veins. His dad is Kim Woo-hyuk, the legendary major league slugger. Everyone knows the name, but nobody knows why his mom is so terrified of him following in his father's footsteps. The spirit doesn't care about family drama. It just sees a body with massive potential. Yahyun has no idea that something dark just found its next home. Kim Yahyun is just a kid walking home alone, but his phone won't stop buzzing. His mom is blowing up his notifications, demanding to know why he's not home yet. The pressure is clearly getting to him, and that's exactly what the spirit was waiting for. It whispers right in his ear, asking if he wants his mom to just disappear forever. Yahyun freezes. He barely has time to ask, "Who's there?" before the small pink spirit transforms into a massive, shadowy nightmare. Everything happens in a second. The monster lunges, knocking the phone right out of his hand. Yahyun tries to scream, but the darkness is already closing in around him. The spirit isn't just attacking, it's playing the hero. It tells him not to be afraid, promising to erase all the pain and the fear he's been carrying. It's a total takeover. The monster wraps itself around his throat, telling him to just give up and hand over his body. This isn't a rescue, it's the end of his life, as he knows it. The pink spirit thinks it's finally found a home. It closes in on Yahyun, calling him little one, while he begs for someone, anyone, to save him. But just as the monster tries to sink its teeth in, everything goes sideways. Heavy iron chains erupt out of nowhere, dragging a massive dark shadow into the light. The pink spirit is losing it. It can't believe what it's seeing. There was already something living inside this kid, something way more dangerous than a common ghost. This is Sa Hyeonwoo. The female entity claims the boy as her own. She towers over the alley, screaming that this body belongs to her and her alone. Right then, the sound of a motorcycle tears through the silence. Han Jiram and Hyeonwoo are closing in fast. The pink spirit is trapped between a nightmare inside the boy and the exorcists on its tail. Sa Hyeonwoo doesn't waste time. He drops a holy punch right on the spirit's head. The monster barely has time to scream before it starts falling apart. The spirit is terrified. It begs for its life, but it's way too late. In a massive flash of light, the pink nightmare is completely wiped out. Hyeonwoo checks on the kid, making sure Yahyun is okay. He knew the spirit would try to jump into a new body the first chance it got. Yahyun is still in shock. He thanks them for the save, but he has no idea that the real danger is standing right behind him, wrapped in heavy chains. Han Jiram pulls up, and she's not convinced. The job is finished. Hyeonwoo thinks it's over, but Jiram can still feel a nasty energy in the air. She's right to be worried. The pink spirit might be gone, but the dark shadow attached to Yahyun isn't going anywhere. Han Jiram is still on edge. She can feel something nasty lingering in the air, but before she can investigate, Yahyun speaks up. The kid is totally starstruck. He's never seen anything like that. He asks how they did it. Since they don't exactly look like priests or nuns, they head back to their base, a place called the healing office. Yahyun can't believe his ears. He asks if it's really true that they'll fight monsters just for a paycheck. Sa Hyeonwoo doesn't miss a beat. He tells the kid they'll take on any spirit as long as the client pays up. It's not about religion, it's just business. He hands Yahyun a card, telling him to call any time things get weird again. Hyeonwoo is all smiles, promising that they never break a promise to a client. That's the iron rule of the healing office. They might not be saints, but if you've got the cash, they're the only ones who can save your life. Yahyun's phone goes off, and he suddenly panics. He says something urgent came up, and bolts out of there, promising to call them if things get weird again. Sa Hyeonwoo just waves, telling the kid to take care. He thinks he's done a good job, saving a life and making a potential new client, but he couldn't be more wrong. Han Jiram is sitting nearby, eating a popsicle, and she drops a bombshell. She tells Hyeon Woo he just made a massive mistake. She's been watching the kid, and even though it's hazy, she's pretty sure there's an evil spirit hiding inside Yahyun's body. It's not just any ghost, it's a dark entity, wrapped in heavy chains. Jiram doesn't understand how the kid is even walking, let alone acting normal. She warns Hyeon Woo that if Yahyun actually returns to ask for an exorcism, the boss is gonna lose it. Hyeon Woo thought he was safe, but he just let a nightmare walk right out the front door. A single photo on the wall shows a much happier time. Yahyun and his dad, both living for baseball, but those days feel like a lifetime ago. Now his life is different. His mother checks him over like he's a broken machine. She asks how he's feeling, and if anything weird happened at school today. Yahyun plays it cool, saying he's totally fine, but his mother isn't taking any chances. She hands him a bottle and tells him to drink up. She insists he needs it every single day if he ever wants to get better. Yahyun takes the bottle, but there's something else on his mind. He asks about tomorrow. His friends are playing baseball, and he wants in. He hasn't had a seizure or a fever in weeks, so he begs for just one day. The answer is a hard no. His mother doesn't even flinch. She tells him baseball is strictly off limits until he's completely healed. Yahyun doesn't argue, he just looks down and grips the medicine bottle. He's tired of being sick, and he's tired of the rules. He grabs his piggy bank and listens to the coins jingle. He knows exactly what he has to do. If his mom won't help him, he'll find someone who will. Yahyun finally finds the place. It's a sketchy-looking building with a sign that says Healing Office. He takes a deep breath and steps inside. Sa Hyeon Woo isn't happy to see a kid at the door. He asks what a brat like him is doing in a place like this, and tells him he's lost. But Yahyun doesn't budge. He's heard the rumors that these guys will kill any evil spirit for a price, and he's here to pay. The boss of the office, a man named Han Isaac, doesn't even look up. He tells the kid to get lost before he loses his temper. Isaac thinks it's a joke. He says this isn't a place you can pay for with pocket money. He's got no time for kids. But then Yahyun flips the piggy bank over, and everything changes. It's not just spare change falling onto the table. A mountain of cash pours out of the pig. The room goes dead silent. This kid isn't playing around. He's got enough money to buy whatever he wants. Han Isaac can't believe what he's looking at. The sunglasses come off, and he's completely floored by the pile of cash sitting on his desk. The entire office goes dead silent. Jiram and Hyeon Woo are frozen in place. They've seen a lot of things, but nothing like this. Yahyun looks up with a desperate plea. He asks if the money is finally enough to get the job done. He isn't there for a blessing or a simple healing. He leans in and says the words nobody expected to hear. He wants them to kill his father. The room turns cold. This isn't just a job anymore. It's a nightmare.